One other thing, housekeeping. Wednesday night, the shul has one of the candidates for rabbi from 7:30 to 8:30. Question and
Okay, so
answer.
we can learn at
Certificate
8:30.
So
now.
can we learn Wednesday night 8:30 then?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Wednesday night. Yeah. Okay, we're going to start a new parak, Pei Zion, 87. Haisha bisman shehi bebeis baila. A wife, right? A woman who's married and she's in her husband's home. Shochat alea baila, v'shochat alea avia toichal mishal baila. So let's say the husband, when he shechted the korban pesach, he had her in mind. And when the father of the girl, even though she's a married woman, he also had her in mind. So we learned yesterday, halacha like Rav Yehuda, that you can only eat in one chabura. You can't eat in multiple chaburas. So the din is toichal mishal baila mistama. A wife is gonna be nigrar after her husband, and therefore she will eat with her husband. However, let's say the minig in their family holcha regel rishon lasos b'veisavia, that at the first yontif after the couple would get married, the minig of the family that they would go and eat at the bride's father's house, first yontif, and it happened to be Pesach. And then in that case, shochat alei avia v'shochat alei baila, then toichal b'makom, she writes that she has a choice. We're going to see, the Gemara is going to tell us, it's in a case where she's not that eager to go to her father's house. Some women were very eager to go to their father's house. So, but we're talking about it, the Gemara will say that our case is that it's mesupik, because she's not that redufa to go to the father's house. Then she can eat wherever she wants. Okay, third case. Yosam sheshachtu alav apotroipsim. So an orphan, so his estate was given over by Bezdin. Usually we're talking about a cotton. And the managing of the cotton's estate was given to a manager, an apotropos. And let's say, and then he got older, he became an adult, he still had an apotropos managing his estate. And he happened to have multiple managers, not just one. And both of the managers shechted with the yosem in mind. Again, yoichal b'makom shuroitza, he has the choice, he can eat wherever he wants. Can't eat them both. He can eat wherever he can choose. Now, Eved shel shnei shutfim, an Eved Knani who was purchased by two Jews, they each own 50% of him. So lo yoichal mishal shneihen. If both shechted on his behalf, he can't eat from either one. And even if one of them chose to shecht and sort of subscribed him to one, who gave him the permission to go to this one, not to the other one? So he has no takana, says Rashi. Unless the two partners agree that one of them will subscribe on his behalf. In that situation, then he could eat by the one that subscribed him. Then you have a case where Shnei Shutfin bought an Eved Knani, and one of them gave him a get shechrur. So he's half Eved, half Ben Chorin. Mi shechetz Eved chetz Ben Chorin, lo yoichal mishal rabbi. If the master who owns him shechts for him, excuse me, shechts for him, the part of him that is free will cause a problem for him. The Mistama says, Rashi, Lo ayadas Rabbo limonos chelek acherus al pischo. The master didn't have in mind, he had in mind the 50% that he owns as an Eved, because the master gets to feed his avodim from the Korban Pesach, as long as they're circumcised. And usually an Eved Knani was circumcised when he came into the house of a Jew. But the master didn't have in mind the part of the Eved Knani that was free. Susie? Sue? Sue? Yeah. You give me a tissue, please? Thank you. So the Gemara says, Shma mino yesh breira. From the fact that the Mishnah said that sometimes the woman will decide where she wants to eat the Korban Pesach, seems to imply that, thank you, Susan. There is a debate throughout Shas regarding the concept of retroactive designation called breira, which means that let's say at the time that they eat the Korban Pesach, she decides, oh, I want to eat my husband. So what? It's hurver hadavar lamafreya. It's retroactively, it seems that she goes, okay, it must be that at the time that he shechted it, we say yesh breira going backwards. Now, throughout Shas, we don't. It's this issue of whether yesh breira or ein breira is left unanswered. So the Gemara now wants to say, well, from our Mishnah, it looks like it's a proof that yesh breira. That once she decides where she eats, it's hover backwards that the shchita and the zrika was for that person, that either the husband or the father. So the Gemara says, no, you can't learn from our Mishnah regarding the issue of breira. My right, so when it says wherever she, the b'makam shehi roitza means b'shas shchita. She has to decide at the time of shchita's korban pesach where she wants to go, whether to the husband or to the father. But it's not going backwards. I'll ask you a kasha. It says, Isha, regular, Rishon and Chelos Mishalavia. The first yontif, a married woman eats by her father. Mikan ve'elech. After the first yontif, then it depends. Rotza Chelos Mishalavia, Rotza Mishalbayla. And that's not like our Mishnah, which said that even regular Rishoina, she had a choice. So it depends. Loi kasha kan b'redufa lelech. In the situation where the new wife loves to visit her father, she runs after that. Then in a chanami, after the minig was after the first yontif, they would eat by the father. The case where she has the choice, even after the first yontif, even by the first yontif, is b'she'ena redufa, where she's not that interested in going to her father's. Like it's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, I think. Then, when I was first married, I had a certain, I had a love at that time. Rav Yochanan, Kekala shenimtza shlema b'veis chamia. A kala who was beloved, everybody wants praise to the kala at the father-in-law's house, not her father's house, but a kala, when she visited her father-in-law, everybody praised her up to Shamayim. And Redufa Leilech Lagit Shvacha B'Veis Aviyah. No, she was Shlema B'Veis Chamia, they were happy, and she was also very enthusiastic about going to her father's house. Both. Kedichsiv. Like it says in the Navi Hosea. Vaya bayom ahunu Hashem tikri'i ishi, v'lo tikri'i li od bali. In the relationship between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you'll call me Ishi and not just Baili. It'll be like a kala in the Beis Chamia where she gets a lot of praise. Now, since the Gemara began with a pasuk from Shir HaShirim, it's going to analyze some other psukim. Achos lanu ketana v'shadayim ein lo. The pasuk in Shir HaShirim says, we have a young sister who has no breasts. Amrav Yochanan zu Elam. Elam was a place in Bavel. Shezachsa lilmod v'lo zachsa lelamed. It produced a lot of Talmidei Chachamim, but not ones who knew how to teach. Ani choma v'shadai kamigdalos. I am like a wall, and my breasts are like towers. Amrav Yochanan ani choma zu Torah. V'shadai kamigdalois elu Talmidei Chachamim. V'rova amar ani choma zu Knesset Yisrael. V'shadai kamigdalos elu bate knesios u'bate midrashos, because a breast provides nourishment. So the bate knesios bate midrashos is the nourishment for Knesset Yisrael. Amar Zidra bar Tuvi amar Rav Maitich Siv. This is a pasuk in Tehillim. Asher banenu kinetiyim megudolim benureihem, benosenu kizoyuvos mechutovos tavnis hechol. And the drush is like this: Asher banenu kinetiyim, our sons are like things that were planted. Elu bachrei Yisrael shelo tamu tamchet. This referred to the young men in Israel who were innocent. They did not involve themselves in chatom. Benosenu kezavis, our daughters are like corners. Elu b'sos Yisrael she'oidus pischelu v'aleim. They watch their opening. They save themselves to remain besulos until they get married to their husbands. They don't sleep around. V'cheinu oimer umalu kamizra kezavis mizbech, like was filled up. So lashon filled or closed, sagur, like a basula. Boys say mehacha. Others say it's from here. Mizavenu mleim mefikim mizon el zon. Pasuk in Tehillim, which also seems to imply that it's filled up, kezavios. Or no, mizavenu is like it's filled up mleim. And then mechutovos tav nisechal elu velu mala alem hakasuv. Means the boys and the girls who are shomer tznius and are careful about the opposite sex. So for those people, it's as if the Beis Hamikdash was built in their lifetime. Okay, now previously the Gemara mentioned the pasuk Vayabayam Ahu Nikneum Hashem Tikri Ishi. That was from the Navi Hosea. So the Gemara is going to discuss the Navi Hosea. Dvar Hashem asher hayal Hosea. Bimei Uziyahu Yotam Achaz Yechizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. Hosea prophesies during the reign of 4 kings: Uziyahu, Yotam, Achaz, and Chizkiyahu. At that time, Beperek Echad Nisnabu Arba Nevim. 4 prophets operated at that time. They all lived at the same time. The Gadol Shebekulan Hosea, the oldest was Hosea. That the first of the Nevi'im, of that 4, was Hosea. Shenamar Tchilas Hashem Diber Hashem Moshe. So that seems to imply that Hashem never spoke to anybody before. What do you mean he spoke to Hosea first? From Moshe Rabbeinu until Hosea, there's many Nevi'im. You have Shmuel HaNavi, you have all the other Nevi'im. Amrav Yechnon. Tchila la'arba Nevi'im shnisnamu bosa perek. That means of the 4 Nevi'im who lived during this period of time, Hashem appeared to him first. Who are the 4? Elohein Hosea, Yeshaya, Amos, Umicha. Of those 4, he spoke to Hosea first. Armala Kodesh Baruch Hu Hosea. Banecha Chatu. Kodesh Baruch Hu told to Hosea, by the way, this is the beginning of the Nevuos that are going to culminate with Yeshaya, Chazon Uvadyahu ben Amotz, and we read this Shabbos Chazon, right, before Tisha B'Av. But the announcement that the Klal Yisrael are sinning and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send them off in exile. He spoke first about this to Hosea. He told him, Banecha Chatu. He told him, he told Hosea, your children are sinning. Now, what should have Hosea said? Hayel Olomer Banecha Hein? They're not my children, they're your children. Hosea should have said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'nei Chanunechahim. He's the sons of those who were Chanan with you. B'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. And therefore, Galgel Rachamecha Leim. Showed mercy to them. Now, Lo Dayo Shelo Amar Kach. Not only did Hosea say that, Elo Amar Lefanav Ribono Shel Olam Kol Ha'olam Shelchahu. What do you want from me? The world belongs to you. Havirein b'uma cheres. Okay, Yisrael sinned. Find another nation, and the other nation will be your beloved one. Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ma esel zaken zeh. Kodesh Baruch Hu, what's wrong with this Navi? Omer lo. So what did Hashem tell Hosea? Lech v'kach isha zonah. He gave him a command to marry a woman who was a known prostitute. V'hoilu l'cha banim znunim. And she will bear you children that you're not even sure they're your children, because she was a zona. V'achar kach omer lo shlachem el panecha. And then later on, we'll see whether it's so easy for you to just send her away. Imu yachol lishlach. This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu talking to himself, planning what is he going to do with Hosea. Afani eshlachas Yisrael. The same way that it's going to be problematic for you to send away your wife. That's why it's not so poshut for me to send away Klal Yisrael. So what do we see happen? Shenema. Vayomer Hashem el Hosea lech kach lecha eshes nunim v'yaldes nunim. Go find yourself a wife who was a zona and acquired children who were znunim. Uksiv vayelech vayikach es Gomer bas Divloim. So Hosea married Gomer bas Divloim. What's Gomer? Omarav shakol goimrim bo. That means they finished their bia, they finished their relations with her. Bas Divloim, dibara bas dibara. That means her and her mother would speak a lot of Lashon Hara. Shmuel Amar Shematuka b'fi hakol kedvela, that the men liked her. She was a zona, like a nice juicy date. Dover acher Gomer Amar Yidush bikshu legamer mamonin shel Yisrael biyameha. The people who attacked Yisrael then, I'm sorry, Rav Yochanan Amar shakol dashin bo kedvela. Everybody sort of has relations with her like a fig. Becomes dried out and everything. Dover acher Gomer Amar Yidush bikshu legamer mamonin shel Yisrael biyameha. The Goyim who were attacking Klal Yisrael at this time tried to impoverish Klal Yisrael of their assets. Rabbi Yochanan Amru Bozu v'Gomru. In fact, that's what they did. They took away all their money. Shenamar ki ibda melech Aram v'yishlimem kafar ladush. Melech Aram took away all their money. Now, after Hoshea married her, Vatar vated lo ben, she became pregnant and had a son. Vayomer Hashem elav kra shmo Yisrael. Hashem told Hoshea, call him Yisrael. Ki od ma'adu fakarati as demei Yisrael al Beit Yehu, because I'm going to remember the blood of Yisrael because of Beit Yehu. And I'm also going to send them out into Galus. Vishbati mamlechus Beis Yisrael, and I'm going to destroy the kingdom of Israel, not Yehuda, but first Israel. Vatarod vateled bas. Then she gave birth to a bas. Vayom l'krashmo lo ruchama. That was her name, lo ruchama, no comfort. Why? Kilo osif on arachem es Beis Yisrael. I'm not going to console Yisrael. Ki nasoas alahem. I'm going to hold them accountable for their sins. Vatar vateled bein. She gave birth to a son. Vayom Hashem elav krashmo lo ami. The name will be Lo Ami. Ki atem lo ami. You are not my people. Vanochi lo yelachem, and I won't be for you. So fine. So after Gomer gave birth to these two sons and the daughter, Kodesh Baruch Hu Hoshea. Kodesh Baruch Hu said to the Navi Hoshea, Lo hayalecha lilmod mimoshe rabcha. Shouldn't you have learned from your Rabbi Moshe? Shekevan shedibarti mo pirish minaisha. So at one point in Sefer Bamidbar, Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Hashem, Po amod imadi. You stand with me now here. And the Chazal say that meant he had to divorce his wife Tzipporah, because the Shekhinah was appearing to Moshe Rabbeinu at any time. So he couldn't have married life, because he might be in a state of tumma, could be a balkari. So he had to be porish minaisha. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not telling the Navi Hoshea, you should have learned from Moshe Rabbeinu, or you should do it like what you should also separate from your wife. Afata b'dol atzmecha mimena. You now should separate from your wife Gomer. Amar lo ribono shel olam. What do you mean? Yesh li bani mimena. I have a whole family. I can't divorce her. Your wife was a zona. And you don't even know these children are yours. They could have been from other men that were having relations with your wife, the zona. You don't even know if these children are yours. Yisrael are my son, Bnei Bachunai, the sons of the ones who I tested, Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. They are Echad Me'arba Kinyonim Shekanitz Boilami. I have 4 Kinyonim in the world. One of them is Klai Yisrael. Torah Kinyon Echad, D'chsiv Hashem Kanani Reishis Darko. Shemayim Varetz Kinyon Echad, D'chsiv Konesh Shemayim Varetz. Beis HaMikdash Kinyon Echad, D'chsiv Har Zeh Konsa Yamino. Yisrael Kinyon Echad, D'chsiv Amzu Kanisa. Ve'atam Arta Avirein Be'um Acheres. And you tell me that I should switch them with another nation? Okay, Hoshea is chastised. Kivan sheyoda shechata. He realizes he sinned. Omad levakesh rachmim alatzmo. So he had to daven for rachmim for himself. Omar lo Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ad shetam levakesh rachmim alatzmocha. Before you ask rachmim for you, bakesh rachmim al Yisrael. Ask mercy for Klai Yisrael. Shegazarti aleim sholosh gzeres bavurecha. Because you told me to get rid of them, that galus, they shouldn't be my velo ami, velo ruchama, and they shouldn't be comforted. So these gzeras were abolished because he davened for them. And Hoshea gave them brachas, shenemar. Vayam ispar bnei Yisrael k'chol hayam. Vayabim kom asher yamer lahem lo ami atem. Rather than HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying they are not my nation, Atem yamer lahem bni kel choy. Hashem will say to them, you are my children forever. V'nikbetzu bnei Yehuda bnei Yisrael yachda, and bnei Yehuda bnei Yisrael will join together. Uzratia libo aretz, they will be planted in Eretz Yisrael. V'richanti aslo ruchama, and I will have mercy on that which I did not have mercy on. The amarti lelo ami amiyata, and to the people that I had said before that they are not my nation, you are my nation. Amrav Yochanan, oila l'rabona shemekaberes es baleha. Woe is to the person who's in charge. Could be a melech, could be a president of a company, somebody who has srora, somebody who is a leader, is going to lead to early death of that person. All of these four Nevi'im that we talked about, in their lifetime, 4 kings died. Shenemar, Chazon Yishayahu ben Amoz, Asher Chazal Yudav Yushalayim, Bimei Uziyahu, Yotam, Achaz, Yechizkiyahu, Malchei Yehuda. These 4 kings. So Yeshayahu outlived all these 4 kings. The reason why he outlived them is because they were involved in Rabbanus. Rav Yochanan, Yeravam ben Yoash, Melech Yisrael, Limanas Malchei Yehuda. And initially, when Hashem appears to Hosea, it says, Dvar Hashem Hashayal Yoshea bin Be'eri, Vimei Uziyahu Yotam Achaz Yechizkiyahu Melech Yehuda, Uvimei Yeravam ben Yoash Melech Yisrael. So why did this Yeravam, who was a Rasha, this is not Yeravam ben Nevat. This is a different Yeravam. Why was he mentioned with these other tzaddikim? We'll see Yeravam ben Yoash did not accept Lashon Hara about Amos that was told to him. And for that schus, he was included in when they mentioned the Malchei Yehuda. First of all, Minolan di Imni. Where do we see that Yeravam ben Yoash was mentioned? Tichsid, Var Hashem Hashayal Oshe ben Beiri, V'mei Uziyahu Yosam Achaz Chizkiyahu Malchei Yehuda, Uv'mei Yeravam ben Yoash Melech Yisrael. So he was mentioned. Uminolan lo kibe Lashon Hara. Where do we see that he did not accept Lashon Hara? Tichsid. Vayishlach Amatzia Kohen Beit El Yeravam Melech Yisrael Lemor. Kasher Alecha. Uchsiv Kicho Amar Amos B'Cherev Yamus Yeravam. Amatzia was telling Yeravam that Amos has prophesied that Yeravam is going to die by the sword, and Klal Yisrael is going to be taken into Golos. Omar, so Yeravam ben Yoash said, Chas v'sholom Amar Oisot Tzadikach. I don't accept that the tzaddik said that. And the Imam, if he said it, Ma'asalo. What should I do? Shechina Amralo. He's a Navi. The Shechina told him to say it. So by that schus, that Yeravam ben Yoash said that, he was mentioned with the 4 Judaic kings. Amar Eliezer Afilu b'shas kaser shel Baruch Hu. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry, even when he's angry, Zoichres harachmim, he remembers mercy. Shenemar, ki lo osif od arachem es Beis Yisrael, ki nosa esa lahem. He said, I'm not going to continue to be merciful. I'm going to judge them according to their sins. But you notice he mentioned rachamim. It's mentioned. He mentions rachamim. Like he's nasoponim. He's promising them that he will forgive them. Why did Klal Yisrael send? Why did Hashem send Klal Yisrael into Golus among the nations? It's to add Gerim to the Jewish population. So by sending them to Australia and to Afghanistan, all over the world, it's to get new Gerim from each place. Shenamar, Uzrati alibo aretz. I will plant Klal Yisrael around the world. You plant a bushel because you want to harvest 30, 30 kur, much larger. Rav Yochanan says, "V'richamti eslo ruchama." It means those that, because that pasuk says, "Lulo ami amiyata." To those that are not my nation, you'll become my nation. Well, all the non-Jews, the Gerim, who become Jewish, they start off as lo ami, but they're going to end up as amiyata. They're going to end up as Yudim. Al tal shein eved el adonav, pen yikalelcha v'ashamta. Don't have lashon hara be told the eved to his master; he might curse you. Uksiv dor aviv yikalel vetimo lo yivarech. He will curse his father's generation. He won't bless his mother's. I don't understand, says the Gemara. Mishum to aviv yikalel, because he's cursing his father. Vetimo lo yivarech al tal shein. What does that have to do with the commandment? Don't be a malshin. El afilu dor she'aviv yikalel vezimo lo yivarech. Even a generation where the father is going to curse Klal Yisrael, like a Kadosh Baruch Hu to Klal Yisrael. Al talshin eved adonav. You still should not mistreat the slave like Hosea did, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu was angry on Klal Yisrael. Hosea shouldn't just be malshin on Klal Yisrael. He should try to support them. On Rabbi Shea might received sid kois pirzoina b'Yisrael. Somehow the tzedakah is scattered. Tzedakah asa Kadosh Baruch Hu b'Yisrael shepizu b'Yisrael. It was a charity, in fact, that Hashem spread them to many places and not to one particular place. It would have been worse if they would have been exiled to one particular place. If they would have been exiled to one particular place, it would have been very easy to destroy them. You see from Hitler. Hitler had a list of every country. He knew exactly how many Jews in each country. But there were Jews in America, there were Jews in Australia, there were Jews everywhere. So that saved a remnant. Yes, there was a remnant saved among the survivors, but not very many. So we see from our own day, this concept that Klal Yisrael was scattered all over, in some way was tzedakah for them. A certain min is like a Maimin Yeshu Anoitzri, either a heretic, a Christian. Anima leinen anan malina minaichu. We are better than you. We are stronger than the koich of Yehudim. Ksiv b'chuki sheishes chadoshim yoshav sham. That in the time of Yoav, the Sartzava Yoav, he spent 6 months with Yisrael until they wiped out Edom. Biluanan, Isneichu Gabon Kamashani. Look at you Jews have been with us for 2,000 years. We haven't destroyed you. It means we are better than you. You wiped out Ganst Edom in 6 months. We are nicer to you than you are to us. You live with us, we don't do anything to you. So Rav Chanina responded, you know what, I'm going to send one Talmud to answer you. Sent them Rabbi Shaya. You know what, you don't know how to overcome us. The reason you haven't destroyed us is because you don't know what to do. The Chalinin Kulu, if you destroy all of this, less Nukabaychu. So they won't be with you anymore. There will be no Jews. And then my people who saw that you committed genocide and wiped everybody out will call you like a government or a nation that cuts people off. That wipes the whole population off. So you can't wipe us all out. And therefore you don't know what to do with us. He made a He made like a shvuah, by the god of Rome, chas v'sholom. In fact, we've discussed the same question, and this is the answer we all come up with. We don't know what to do with the Jewish people. Elohim evin darkav hu yadat mekoma. This is a pasuk in Iyuv. Yodea Kodesh Baruch Hu Yisrael she'enan yicholim lekabel gzeres shel roimim. Kodesh Baruch Hu knows that Klal Yisrael cannot withstand the terrible decrees of the Romans. Leficha cheklos am leBavel. That's why he sent the majority of them to Bavel. It's an easier people to be exiled to. We're talking about after Bayis Rishon. He said at the Bavel, it's deep, like the grave. Shenemar, Yad Sha'ol Demi Mavis Agalem. They speak Aramaic in Bavel, which is close to Hebrew. That's another reason why they went to Bavel. Rabbi Yechon Oimar, Neshashigel Beis Imon. Listen, that was the home of Avram Avinu, Aram Narayim. Bavel is close to there, so he sent them to the ancestry's house. Moshel Adam Shakal Ishto, like a man who gets upset with his wife. Leichan Mishagra Levesima. He sends her, when he's upset with her, he sends her back to her mother. Same thing that Kodesh Baruch Hu did with Klal Yisrael. Hainad Rabbi Alexandri Domer Shloisha Chazru L'Matason. 3 things went back to its original source. Elohim, Yisrael, Kesef Mitzrayim, Uksav Luchos. The Jews, the money that Klal Yisrael took out of Egypt, and the writing on the Luchos. Yisrael Adamaron. We just said the Jewish people came from Ur Kasdim. They went back. Kesef Mitzrayim, in the 5th year of Rechavam, the son of Shlomo, of his reign, Allah Sheshak Melech Mitzrayim al Yushalayim. Sheshak was the king of Egypt, and he took all the money back. He took all the money that Klal Yisrael had taken out. He emptied out. All the money that was in the treasure house of Rechavam, he depleted. Ksava Luchos. What do you mean the writing of the Luchos? I broke the Luchos in front of your eyes. So what? Tana Luchos dish bevoses parchos. That means the Klal Yisrael, they saw the I once heard an Adam Gadol explain that the Luchos was like the goof and the neshama. Our goof is physical, and of course the neshama is spiritual. Hashem somehow puts the neshama into the goof, and that's what we're alive. And then after Me'av Esrei, he separates it. Well, the Luchos were the same thing. The Even of the Luchos, the stones, is the goof of the Luchos. But the Osios came from Hashem. And that's why, for example, the Mem B'nai So made, right? The Mem Sofit, which is like a square, the letters were through and through inscribed. Well, how did the Mem sit there? So it was just like it's supernatural for something non-physical like a neshama to be physically inside of us. I mean, what's the connection between something physical and something non-physical? So Descartes thought it was the pineal gland. He also talked about the body and the soul. And the philosophical question was, well, where's the connection between the two? How can something non-physical have a connection with something physical? So they thought it was the pineal gland. And of course, there is no connection between physical and non-physical. So just like that is a supernatural event, so too when the writing went into the Luchos was also supernatural. That's why there was no Misa, there was no death. But that's only by Luchos Rishonos. When the Moshe broke the Luchos, those letters flew up to Shamayim. That's why Le'einechem, they could see it. Now, the same letters, now the stone of the first Luchos was also Min HaShamayim. Both were Shamayim. That's why that Mem stood beneath. But the second luchos, Moshe is told psal lacha. You have to make the stone. So the stone was actually earthy, but the letters were the same. And by the way, when it says that Moshe broke the luchos, he didn't break it. The letters carried the luchos. They had that, it made it light. So when the letters flew out, he had to break it. It was impossible to hold. The very same letters that flew up came back into the psalacha. But so now the letters remain ruchnius. But now you have mamish artzios luchos. Okay. We'll stop here. So tomorrow